Going into your car club thing, I think you're just over-analysing the concrete.
It'll catch on one day, Steve.
That's incredibly bold. Welcome back to the Traxion Control Podcast, where we talk every single week about racing video games and sim racing. Some of it important, most of it waffle. But we're here, it's Tom, back again with the other Tom, and John is still on holiday. This is an outrage. We need to have words.
Yeah, we've broken the rule that we set last week, which is we can never have Tom and Tom without John. It always has to be a Tom and a John. Never a Tom and a Tom.
Yeah, it's very confusing for everybody. But we'll power through. We've got a lot to talk about this week. Again, we'll save full said dead for when John's back. That's his favourite bit. And once again, we'll save Tom's favourite bit, the quiz, for that then as well. Yeah, what we're going to talk about is the recent news. There's quite a bit in our industry. It was quite a, on the face of it, depressing news week last week. However...
Frenetic.
Yeah, frenetic is perhaps a better term. So we're going to give you that news a week later, because that's what you want. No, I'm kidding. We're going to give you our insights into it and some opinions. We're going to go through some community feedback on those particular stories and what we're excited for in the coming days and weeks. And we'll start with Maverick Games, which we've known a fair bit about, or we've followed this studio quite a bit. But because their first game is not public yet, it has sort of swept under the radar until last week, where there was a big news story. So for those who don't know, this is a team that was co-founded, I should say, by a bunch of ex-Forza Horizon developers who walked out of Microsoft and had set up their new company with some backing, and they are making what they call a AAA driving or racing video game. Now, the game has not been announced yet, but they did announce an Amazon publishing deal, which was then broken last week. So the story was that their publishing deal is over. But to combat this, they were saying, hey, it's actually a good thing. And they published their first screenshot, which we speculated was a screenshot, but has since been confirmed. So with that in mind, Tom, what do you think about the publishing deal and this first screenshot?
Well, I'm excited about the screenshot because I think they've been very careful to call it a driving game, not a racing game. And the screenshot is obviously of two road cars on a cobbled street as opposed to a track car on a track.
Yes.
So they've doubled down with the language and then they've tripled down with the imagery. So this is a driving game. This looks to me like an open world Forza Horizon competitor. Clearly, they've got some sort of deal with Porsche because 100% of the cars that they have so far announced are Porsches. One, I'm going to guess, 1978, 1979 Porsche 911, but you'll be able to tell me that I'm wrong, Tom.
Well, I'm not going to say model years, but it's a model code 930. I think it's a 930 Turbo, which might have been nicknamed the Widowmaker.
It's beautiful, and then a modern cabriolet version.
718 Spider, we think. Yeah.
Okay, so it is definitely driving. Not racing. That doesn't mean that you can't do racing, especially on the road. And what I found interesting about this was that they were incredibly quick, Maverick Games, to come out after Amazon announced that it was cutting ties, pulling funding, etc., to say, we're still here, we're still making the game, we're very excited to show you more. Did they say later this year?
Well, we don't know the release date, but they did do a podcast.
No, but I think they were talking about announcing more stuff.
Yeah,
if I remember rightly.
Correct. Yeah. So we'll know not fully, but we'll know more about the scope and gameplay and stuff this year, which is very exciting.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks great. And actually, do we need another racing game? If you were going to try and find a gap in the market, would it be a car culture / open world driving title? Probably.
Yes, so I think, obviously, their former paymasters, Microsoft, have a big game this year, right? Huge budget behind Forza Horizon 6. So I think we discussed, this is quite interesting because we did have a community member ask us last week, what do we think about the Maverick Games game? And then a day later, Newsgeddon about this particular game with the publishing deal, their podcast, and the screenshot. I think we both said it has to be different. It has to be differentiated. And so...
Yeah.
On the face of it, you might look at the screenshot and be like, yeah, open world, rail world cars, Forza Horizon vibes. But I think in actuality, to survive it, you'll have to have something unique. And they've already said, but not shown yet, that it's going to be narrative driven. So much more emphasis on some sort of story.
Oh, interesting.
But that's not being covered here, or even hinted at here. They announced an actor who's going to be involved in it. So if you wouldn't do that if there's no story, right?
I wonder if it would be like what concepts would be interesting as driving game. So not racing game, driving game, single player campaign concepts. One that's springing to mind looking at this is almost like you're a car club tycoon, where you build a collection of cars, you buy and sell cars, you build a sales garage, but you go off and you organize drives like there's a big one called coffee and cars and coffee. There's another one up near where I am called the Car Barn, and it's essentially they buy and sell. They have a garage, but they also do drives. They do track days together, and then some of them will have teams, like race teams for kind of semi-competitive gentleman driver style series. There's a lot of fun to be had if you just really lean into the car culture vibe with a little bit of racing. I don't know. I'm looking. There's something about this picture. I can't quite tell you why, but there's something about this screenshot that is making me quite excited for this game. There's also a bit of mystery because in the foreground, blurred out, is
I think it's another 911, but we can't be sure.
Well,
but also
exactly
going into your car club thing, I think you're just over-analyzing the concrete. But I was thinking something similar because if you look at the concrete. That's obviously like there's some sort of patterned bricks, right? Oh, that's looking cool outside. But don't you think the other bit looks like garage floor?
Yes. Are
you building some sort of collection or something weird?
And there's a drain in the middle, which would indicate that the photo is taken from inside.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, why would you need a runoff drain?
Yeah.
So
there we go.
Yeah, I mean, we already know that it's we don't know that it's south of France, but we've guessed that it's south of France because Maverick Games went to the south of France in 2024, right? So that speculation, but
that is rampant speculation.
But not like the south of France from this picture.
I was like, the water there, Côte d'Azur, but we're maybe looking into that too much.
I love it. I think we should go. let's go deeper.
We need to move on quickly. Although, actually, before we do that, this is an aftermarket wheel company.
I was just about to ask you, are those don't look like stock wheels to me,
no.
which tells me that you can mod the cars, right?
Also, the hood or the bonnet looks like it's a boot, especially if it's a Cayman, but that is like a different color to the rest, and that's maybe like some sort of modification. There is it like sort of a matte black or something. Anyway, we're going to move on, but just to say that the game is not dead because the publishing deal is over. They are very clear. They're very clarified, and we have an article on the Traxion website. They have their podcast that's the source for it, where they say part of their publishing deals are different for everybody. And so their deal is that if that broke up, they still fully own the IP. Sometimes that's not always the case. So they're still working on it. And they said, actually, even though the game's far from finished, it's not finished. It is playable to the end at the present and content complete. Doesn't mean the game is complete, but they're several years in at this point and it will still be happening. So fear not.
Well, talking of publishers, it's interesting, isn't it, to suggest that if a publisher goes under, all of its projects are automatically dead. Last week, obviously, we had the Nacon news, and we were speculating about what that could mean. And I rattled off a huge list of all the projects that they're involved in. But you're quite right. Just because the publisher goes under doesn't mean that the game studio is dead. The game studio can go off and find funding from elsewhere. They might already have some runway. There might be sponsorship deals within the game that they can take early. There's all sorts of mechanisms. So it'll be interesting to see how the Nacon, the projects under the Nacon brand react in the same way.
Yeah, of course. This is the news that Nacon is insolvent or has filed for insolvency in French courts. So we were talking a couple of weeks ago about them because we thought they've got a lot of exciting things and. Don't know how to pronounce this username, but Kazderful. Apologies, I've butchered that.
I think that's it. I think you've nailed it.
Yeah, okay. I'm not going to say it again. So much for Nacon being the sleeping giant of racing games. Huh? Yes. Good sarcasm, because we absolutely said that. And then within 2 weeks, they're insolvent. Amazing. We're not going to predict anything this again.
They are sleeping, right? Maybe that's what we meant. The sleeping giant, but they just never wake up.
Yeah.
The giant in a coma.
And then related to that, we'll dive into that in a second, and go back through some of the comments and feedback we've had about this. But within a day or two, it was announced that Rennsport, which was published by Nacon on consoles, that deal was terminated, that publishing deal. We don't know the exact details as to why and how on. I think there's some timing going on here that's not a coincidence, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean, again, that the game is dead or over. spoke to them last week, which we alluded to. Now we can talk about that. They're fully confident, 100% confident that they've got the backing for the year ahead. Obviously, they still need to sell some games, and they are going through the whole arduous process of now self-publishing on console. And so that again goes in with the Maverick Games thing that once your publishing deal over, it depends on the deal and the workaround, but it doesn't mean the game is necessarily dead. And just really quickly, Carmageddon Rogue Shift, which was released recently, that was self-published in the end because it was part of Saber, and Saber bought itself out and then left that game back with Embracer, but they got it out there, so the game is not dead; it's still being supported. And Recreation had a complicated relationship with THQ Nordic, and they've gone to Patreon to help fund the rest of the development, and it's still going. So all is not lost. Anyway, Nacon Insolvency also means all is not lost, right, Tom?
Which is a really good thing because, Nacon, as we've said, are presiding over some really interesting projects. The WRC license. How many comments did we get across the Traxion channels of people saying, well, that's it, WRC's gone then? People were pretty upset by it. And despite AC Rally's perceived success and being a sim title, there is still a gap in the market for a licensed WRC game that's perhaps a little more accessible, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And just to break this down, they have filed with the French courts for insolvency to sort of, this gives them in our opinion, the ability to try and renegotiate some debts that maybe can't be paid immediately or need to be paid soon, or to put them in an order of priority. This does not necessarily mean bankruptcy or the company is going down, which is what some of the comments are suggesting. We have an article on the Traxion website to explain it, but here are some comments. For example, should I buy Robocop now because will it be purchasable in the future? Now, it's a valid point, and the reason we bring up Robocop on a sim racing channel is that's developed by Teon, who are also making Rennsport, and it's published by Nacon. But for now, it does say in their very brief press release, the company will operate as best it can normally. So I don't think there's any need to panic buy. And then just great. WRC games are officially dead, and as you discussed there, Tom, it doesn't necessarily mean the case at all because we don't know the end result of what the insolvency is going to happen.
Yeah, and actually, that probably goes to combat Will's 35's comment that says self-inflicted, make better games. Because is it self-inflicted? It's not really. If he's saying make better games, therefore the implication is that he's talking about Nacon, but this isn't Nacon's. It is their problem, but this isn't. They didn't cause this issue, right? It's one
Big
level
Ben.
above.
Yeah,
exactly. It's Big Ben Interactive that have caused this. So to say that it's self-inflicted is a little bit unfair. Nacon could be the highest selling, game studio or game publisher of all time, but if their parent company is in trouble with these bonds,
we could just—it's a fancy way.
€2 million of bonds. It sounds like a fancy way of saying loan.
Well, owed bonds, so it's debt. So we'll just call it debt. Yeah,
exactly. So it's a bit unfair to say, I think, that it's entirely self-inflicted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's two sides to every story, so there's an element of this. But you're right. The parent company, Big Ben, owns just over 50-something% of Nacon. We don't know what else is going on in Big Ben's thing too.
So I guess his argument could be, well, if you'd made 42 million in profit, then you could have paid it off for your parent company,
exactly.
right?
yeah, exactly that. And then there are all sorts of other comments like here. KT's WRC games are really good. Same for Rennsport. Decided to give it another chance. Been enjoying the last 2 days. Hope they will sort it out as well. So it's not all negative and knee-jerk responses. The majority is, let's be real.
I think the negative ones are mainly sadness about the loss of the games, as opposed to just general anger for no apparent reason.
Yeah, exactly that. I totally agree. I think everyone wants better games. I think they are trying to work on better games, and we've said it last time. We hope. I would rather personally that they resolve this to an extent where certain games that are in development are still reach the light of day. And that is still very much a possibility. But also, the bankruptcy is also possible as well. We'll have to see over the coming days, weeks, and months.
And there are implications for Rennsport. I know we speak about Rennsport a lot. Comparative to the percentage of people listening to this who probably play it regularly.
Not many.
But it was, it's a big deal, right? If you're, it's fairly safe to say that console is probably where Rennsport gets most of its sales.
It is, definitely. Yep.
I mean, we know it absolutely is. So to have to sever your relationship with your console publisher is pretty painful. It's disruptive, even if they're going to self-publish, right? And maybe that'll be fine, but it's still disruptive when you have such a mountain to climb.
Yeah, it's a distraction when they're trying to make things better, right? It doesn't actually help the game development, doesn't this? Because there's an instability there. They have said to us that they're actually 100% confident of the backing and the roadmap that they announced last week. So they announced this roadmap, a day after the Nacon announcing the splitting of the Nacon deal. So it's not good timing for anyone involved there. But here we are again talking about Rennsport, but only because this is rare. You don't hear about things like this. So they're going to have to go through a whole self-publishing thing, and well, I wish them good luck. I think they've got that sorted, and they won't be fully able to self-publish until the end of March, they estimate as well. So a lot to work out.
Yes. Well, I said something before the podcast, which I don't know if I really want to kind of nail my colours to the mast on this one, but I'm going to say it because why not? It could be funny. I think Rennsport seems to have a bit of momentum at the moment. I think after when you came back from their summit a couple of weeks ago, and a few news stories came out and a few things that you told me that you'd heard around the room, there's something that tells me that Rennsport isn't done yet. They're not giving up. They are still building. So I'm not writing off Rennsport as a title that we might not necessarily be talking about in 5 years' time, which was a double negative. What I mean to say is, in 5 years' time, I say that we're still talking about Rennsport and it's turned a corner.
That's incredibly bold. Everybody in the comments discuss in the comments. That's no Spotify.
There's something about the news coming out of it and the attitude coming out of it. So, I guess you and I are quite lucky in that we get to speak to people face to face on calls from people in the studios, and obviously we can't repeat everything that they say, but you get a vibe, right? You get an idea of what the mood is like within the studio. And this, I don't know, something about Rennsport is telling me that it's turned around. Something's happened. Something that is turned around, and I believe that they might be onto something.
Well, the game certainly hasn't yet. That's the thing.
No.
So you can.
There's probably a lag, right? There's a lot of organizational and process changes that you have to make in the background, and then there's a lag until you feel that through the controller or the wheel.
Yeah, we'll have to see if that develops. I'm not as. I feel that they are confident, but I'm not confident about what happens next year. I think they've got this leeway now of 12 months where if they start delivering on some promises, then I'm with you.
I hope you're all enjoying this video. Just a quick message though for those of you using Fanatec equipment. Maybe you're looking to upgrade, maybe you're looking for new peripherals. If you use the affiliate link down in the description below, it will take you to the Fanatec website. It won't make a difference to your experience, but what it will do is help support this Traxion GG YouTube channel and of course our website. And that will help us make more content like this in the future. Back to the video.
From the nascent to the legacy, shall we discuss iRacing?
Well, what's the big news?
Well, the big news, Tom, and just to double check, are you sat down? Have you pulled over?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Just to double check, you're not driving.
Yep.
The Red Bull Ring is getting 3D curbs.
Wow.
You heard it here first. You can read the story. It's a 45,000 word essay on the Traxion GG news site. It's big deal. In all seriousness, I do think it's really cool that they are in a privileged position to be able to focus on that level of detail week in, week out. Every season update has got everything from new cars and tracks. So there's 3 new cars for this season. So the NASCAR Cup Series Next Gen Chevrolet Camaro ZL1, and the NASCAR Ram Truck and Audi RS3 LMS Gen 2 TCR. Which I'm quite excited for the TCR. I do like a bit of TCR racing on iRacing. And there is a new track, which, Tom, you probably know more about than me. This is just straying outside of my comfort zone here, but it's called St. Petersburg.
Yeah, this is the only thing that excites me about this update. I think it's a lot of foundational stuff for the future of the platform, which is really good, but I don't think it's worthy of much time in terms of content, honestly, other than St. Pete, which is quite cool. This is a track in America, which is also an airport, and it's then used still as an airport. And then when the racing happens, it's converted into a street circuit, or part of it is. And I watched IndyCar and NASCAR trucks had their first ever race around there just the weekend gone. But this is it's one of those circuits you sort of think, oh, that's not in iRacing. I've completely forgotten that. It's a popular track in America. Should always part of the roster. I think the main thing here is, yes, they put it available for iRacing, but it is also helping them develop the IndyCar game later in the year. So that's really what.
Well, that's the economies of scale that you get.
Gotcha.
I think when you put in all the licenses and the track scans, and talking of track scans, they are upgrading Long Beach and Sebring, and I think Sebring features on. I think it's 3 of the special events. I was looking through the special event calendar a few weeks ago to choose which ones I want to do, and I'm sure there's 3 of them this year at Sebring. It's the home of a lot of multi-class endurance events, so a lot of people will be pleased that that's getting an upgrade. And then Barber Motorsport Parks, one of my favorite tracks on iRacing, has been totally redone and rescanned. So I hope I still love it. New TCR physics, new GT physics.
Why do you think Barber as well? Because
Why Barber?
It's going to be in the IndyCar game. So this is a whole big thing.
There you go.
Yeah.
Interesting. So on that basis then, can you predict what they're going to be updating for the next season?
It'll be just the other IndyCar tracks. But there is two interesting things. IndyCar's 2 all-new circuits this year, I think. So are they going to be able to make those in time for that game? And if they do, it will also be available for iRacing, is my opinion. But I'm not sure if they've got enough run-up to do that. So there could be 2 new street circuits. I think from memory, that's 2. Coming to the platform in the future. A quick update, it's actually 3 new circuits this season because we forgot about the recent Washington Street Circuit announcement.
From one legacy title to another. Assetto Corsa, and we're talking mods. Friend of the show, Steve Worrell, one of the great masterminds behind platforms such as Race Department back in the day, Sim Racing GP, and now SimGrid. AKA Vern Wazzer. That's his. If you've seen him around the Discords, of which he is a member of many. The man lives in Discord. That is how you find him. He has come up with a great concept called Sim Foundry. Now, Sim Foundry is solving a problem that we've all experienced in sim racing, especially Assetto Corsa, especially league racing on Assetto Corsa, when you need to have 3 or 4 mods downloaded just to take part in an event, or you're an event organizer and you're looking for mods to download. They are historically difficult to find. You've got to go through various, forum sites and whatnot. Searches can be a bit difficult. The quality of the mods is subjective at best. And so Steve has created Sim Foundry, which is a mod directory for Assetto Corsa. I'm assuming other sims will come in the future. That is updated daily, and it's just browsable, right? So it's mods from all sites, and we won't name all the sites, but any site that does mods that Steve thinks is good enough will end up on here, and then you can filter by different cars, tracks, and tools as well. Remember, things like Sol or Helicorsa, etc. But they are all kind of recommended, curated. You're only getting the good stuff here, and it kind of solves a big problem that a lot of people have had when they're trying to find a good mod or a good circuit to race next, or a good car to race for a series, etc. It's simfoundry.gg, built by Steve. Steve's a really good UI web designer. This smacks of Steve. And actually, a little tidbit, little insider information for you. If you go to the homepage and you scroll down to the About Sim Foundry section, you can actually see a reference to what Steve was originally going to call it. As I said, his nickname is Vern Wazzer. I mean, I don't know if anyone actually calls him Vern Wazzer, but it'll catch on one day, Steve. And the original name of Sim Foundry was Wasmods, which I don't know. I think maybe Wasmods is better than Sim Foundry.
It definitely isn't.
I like it, but he's left a reference to Wasmods on the homepage by accident, and long may it stay there.
Yeah, well, that very much sounded like an infomercial, but it wasn't. It's because it's an interesting, cool thing. And the other thing as well is that this also, unlike other places, tabulates paid and free, and it tells you which is paid and which isn't. So that's not really been seen in this sort of environment before. We should move on quickly to what to expect from Traxion in the coming time. And we've been playing iRacing Arcade. Now, my opinion will be in the full review, which is due to the power of editing and production deadlines. Podcast is coming out after the review, but before I've finished the review. So I'm not going to talk about this. You can watch and read about that on the website. But I just wanted to get your initial impressions after you briefly played it last night, Tom.
Well, it's probably no secret to anyone who's listened to a few of these episodes that I'm a big fan of the team behind iRacing Arcade, Original Fire Games, and I was a big fan of Circuit Superstars and Karting Superstars. And so I have been bleating on about how excited I am for this game. And so there was an element of nervousness when I loaded it up. And actually, I had a pretty busy weekend, so I was going to play it during the day and didn't. Ended up playing it at night. And for that reason, I played it in bed on my laptop. And my laptop doesn't have an dedicated graphics card. So I was a bit worried about how it was going to run. And it ran absolutely fantastically. And I'm a huge fan. I thought I was going to be. I don't know what they could have done for me not to be. I found that it's a cutesy looking casual racing game. And yet I was having multiple side-by-side 4, 5, 6 corner battles with the AI. And I was absolutely loving it. And I was loving the mix of licensed content. So Lime Rock Park, for example, I think there was a moment as an iRacer and a fan of Circuit Superstars when I was starting a race at Lime Rock Park, but with Circuit Superstars graphics, but in chase cam, where I just thought, this is just absolutely made for me. And I think there's going to be a lot of iRacers who try it, who will love all the little nods to the iRacing DNA. And of course, if you tried Circuit Superstars, then I think you'll probably share a moment that I had last night when I was racing around a track. I can't remember the name of it, but a track that I'd only previously raced top down. And all of a sudden you're racing it in chase cam, and it's incredibly immersive. There's something about the art style where it feels cozy. It doesn't feel like you're on a big flat plane. There's something really nice about the execution of this game. And I'm also a big fan of the building element, the motorsport park. What am I trying to say? The campus, the motorsport campus building element of it. It's quite a. I mean, I should caveat this. I've only played a couple of hours, but already I feel quite immersed in it. I'm going to play some more after we record this ahead of the newsletter that I'll be writing this afternoon. But yes, I feel like there is plenty there. The racing feels good. The cars feel good. The game looks good. I love the music. The music is really nice. So yeah, so far, initial impressions are it's exactly what I was hoping it would be, and I'm excited to play more of it. However, I will acknowledge I am biased.
Well, that's why we got you on the podcast to talk about that, because different opinions are available. You mentioned there about you think iRacers might enjoy it. I think majority of iRacers are completely confused by this and haven't got a clue what they're playing because they won't have heard of Circuit Superstars. And they're all the comments are like, "Can I use a wheel? Why can't I use a wheel? What's going on with a wheel? Is it a subscription? Is it?"
Well, you know what? Actually, Tom, I'm going to disagree with you there, because I think there was a point where Circuit Superstars became a bit of a cult classic for sim racers. There was a moment in time where a lot of sim racers were streaming Circuit Superstars when it first came out, and it did have a hardcore sim racing following. Now, that might be me in a echo chamber or a bit of a bubble, or just perhaps the streamers that I particularly like were playing it. But I don't know. I think when we were at Sim Racing Expo, there was a bit of iRacing arcade on the Fanatec stand, and there were a lot of sim racers walking past going, "Oh, it's Circuit Superstars." I don't know. Maybe that's just me with wishful thinking. But I think because of the tracks that are in, then obviously the licenses are, I assume, carrying over from iRacing to iRacing Arcade. I don't know. I think it is a nice relief for an iRacer to be able to go into one of these cutesy games, but also know the tracks inside out and have a different experience of them.
Well, you can watch our full review on the website for the full verdict. We should move on now to Community Roundup, and we've just got one particular question this time. So this week's question is TFCN on our Discord, traxion.gg/Discord. You can put in some questions for the podcast. After watching the last episode, where we discussed Gran Turismo real world circuits want to return, which fictional tracks do you want to see back and why? For me, it's Midway, Old Grand Valley, or Tokyo R246 are the ones I'd love to see come back. That's their opinion. Tom, any old Gran Turismo fictional tracks you'd like to see return?
There's one that springs to mind, and it was one of those tracks that goes from dirt to tarmac and back again, which for some reason has stuck with me for 20 years. 20 years, wow. It's the Tahiti Dirt Route 3. And when we were looking, doing the notes for the show, I was looking at the the car that I used to race in. I couldn't remember what it was, but I remember it was yellow. It turns out it was the Opel Tigra. So racing the Opel Tigra around Tahiti Dirt Route 3, that was probably one of my oldest core memories of the Gran Turismo 2 game, and I would have that back.
Yeah, that Opel Tigra was quite cool. I mean, good track as well, but the Tigra was cool because I think it was actually an Andros Trophy ice racing car, which Marco Allen drove. And then they did... there should have been a quiz question. They did modify it a little bit for dirt events around like Spain and stuff, and I think that's what was in the game, so that's really cool. But anyway...
There's me going, the yellow car, and you're like, oh, yes!
But...
it's impressive.
Well, my circuit is Autumn Ring, just because it's the very first track I ever played in Gran Turismo, Autumn Ring Mini, and also the full track as well, but mainly the small one. And I'd love if they sort of reinvigorated that for the current Gran Turismo games. I know you need to be looking forward all the time, but that has a lot of nostalgia from many Gran Turismo players because it was the first one in there. Although I do like to shout out Città d'Aria from Gran Turismo 4, which was like this Italian village that you would drive through. Terrible for racing, but really good driving experience and very difficult to master.
Do you reckon you'd remember the layout of the Autumn Ring if you're on the start line now?
Oh, 100%, yeah. On the start line, downhill slightly, right-hand hairpin, and then it goes on from there. But anyway, we don't want to be talking about Gran Turismo track layouts. We want your feedback on the Spotify comments and the YouTube comments. Please subscribe to the Traxion Control Podcast YouTube channel, and we'll be back next week with another one and the return of the famed, the venerated, the lionized John Munro.